Welcome to World Domination. Disclaimer, the views expressed in this episode are for comedic effect. They should not be taken as advice, as opinions held by the people saying them, or before bedtime. No whales were harmed in the making of this production, though I can assure you one of them certainly thought about it.
What are we doing tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try and take over the world.
Are you guys sure you know what you're doing?
Welcome to World Domination, everyone. I'm your host, and all glory to the Hypno Jim.
Oh, nice.
Oh, God.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, the sunKEN troller.
Excellent.
I'm gonna need to get myself new friends.
Hey!
Hey!
But what's your name,
puns. Emma.
How is everyone tonight?
Look, I'm a little bit sick, so I do apologise to all of our listeners. The cold winter weather has finally gotten to me, but so I apologise for sounding like a man. There's two men and a female on this podcast, but tonight it may sound like three men.
Yep, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be away from these two because they've been coughing all night.
How's everybody's day been?
It's been okay.
Yeah, good.
It hasn't been that busy at work recently, which has been just fine with me.
As you guys know, I resigned from my job last week, so today, like first day back in the office since resigning, it's always that awkwardness of who knows and like, oh, I can't really pick up more work, and it's kind of like, what do I do?
Aww. Did they think you were sick or just sad that you're leaving?
What, because I was crying in the middle of the office?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Both.
No, it's just Emma.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about her.
It's just the same as every other day. That's fine. It's just her 2 o'clock cry. It's fine.
You watch in 3 minutes, she'll go and get a coffee.
Everything's fine.
So today we're talking about mind control. So when we're talking about mind control, we're obviously
Pretty self-explanatory.
Is it? That's the thing. I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not that self-explanatory.
It's controlling the mind.
It's controlling the mind, but like how you do it is.
Well, that's the
probably,
thing. I mean, the human brain it's such a
like we're not going to be talking about like telekinesis.
Well, that's not real.
Exactly. We're
Talking about real life examples. And I don't know. I haven't met everybody in the world. There may be people out there with powers like that. We don't know.
Ooh.
Have you met every single person?
Let's move into some real life examples.
Do you know what? I've got a fun fact for you all, right? I'm
Yeah.
full of fun facts.
Ooh.
Did you know that brainwashing, which is obviously mind control kind of thing, developed in the 1950s to explain how Chinese government appeared to make people cooperate with them?
Ooh.
It was the Chinese.
Wait, the Chinese came up with the term?
I don't know if they came up with the term, but I feel like because they were just like appearing to make everybody was just like, yeah, let's just go with whatever you guys are doing, that everybody was like, how are you doing this? So it became like known as brainwashing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the first thing when you open up brainwashing in Wikipedia, there's a picture of a guy who's protesting in Hong Kong, and he has a washing machine helmet on his head.
He's clearly been brainwashed.
Yeah, he's clearly being brainwashed right now.
Imagine like the most Asian dad protester you can think of, and then look at that image.
Yeah, that's him. Yep, that's pretty
Yep.
bad.
2 questions. First off, how familiar were the two of you with MK Ultra before researching today?
I'd
and
never
how
heard
familiar
of
are
it.
you now?
I've never heard of it, and vaguely.
Yeah, I never heard of it before, but now I know much more, and I'm much more paranoid.
So some people think the name MK Ultra comes from something else that the CIA did. So MK Ultra was a CIA program, and they had a predecessor program where they would. Do you guys know what a honeypot is?
No, what's a honeypot?
No.
In espionage, a honeypot is when you coerce or kind of set up a situation where somebody has sex with someone,
Right.
and then you either record it or take photos or whatever, and then you can use that as leverage against that person later.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
So like a PI in all of those movies.
Yeah. So the CIA had a honeypot program where they would drug people with LSD while they were having sex.
Thanks, America.
Yeah. And that was called Operation Midnight Climax.
And we thought only the Japanese came up with great names. Come
That
on.
was exactly what I was thinking.
That is a top-notch name, gold star name. And you know, like
You're
there's
all
some
right,
people
America.
there's some people that think the name MK comes from Midnight Climax Ultra.
Oh, so they're really good at spelling.
Yeah, MK was just their abbreviation for their technical services wing of the CIA, and Ultra just means ultra top secret.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like technical services program dash ultra top secret. But MK Ultra was a program that went on for about 20 odd years, where the CIA tried to find out whether they could mind control people using drugs.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, to some extent. So like there were a couple different ways that they did it. One way they did it was like they would dose you up with LSD and then just repeat something over and over and over again until until you had like just the worst trip and just assumed that what was being repeated was true.
Oh God. Yep.
So like there was one guy that they strapped him down in a room, dosed him up on LSD, and just played the sentence "You're responsible for your mother's death"
Oh shit.
on repeat for days.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's some messed up
guy.
shit.
That's fucked up.
God.
Yeah. Another thing supposedly they would do was that they would, you know that Simpsons episode?
Wait,
where
what
Homer's
happened to that guy? I need to know.
I don't know either.
Okay.
The problem with Project MK Ultra is that after the Watergate hearings started and everybody was like concerned about like bad things the government was doing, the leader of the CIA ordered all documents about MK Ultra to be destroyed, and the only ones that we have left are ones that were misfiled.
Right.
Misfire.
Yeah.
Okay.
But another thing they used to do supposedly, you know that episode of The Simpsons where Homer becomes a long haul truck driver?
Sure do.
You know that the part where he gets like the can of sleeping pills and the can of pet pills? They basically used to do that. They would put an IV of sleeping chemicals in one arm and they would put an IV of methamphetamines in the other
Oh
arm.
my God. How did these people survive?
Apparently the people who had this happen to them just became completely incoherent. And sometimes you could get useful information out of them just by like badgering them. You could like just ask the same question over and over and over again, and these people were like so delirious that like there's a chance that they would just answer you accidentally.
Oh, apparently there were like 80 institutions involved in this this whole project, and that's
It was crazy elaborate. Like so many people involved in this, and like completely illegal.
Yep, super dodgy. People weren't aware they were getting experimented on.
Even CIA agents weren't aware that they were being drugged. And at the start, when they started testing it, they would get like 12 people in a room and they would have 2 observers and like just 10 people who knew that they were getting drugged. And towards the end of the program, they would just like drug people whenever they felt like it.
Oh no.
Being drugged was like an occupational hazard for CIA agents.
What a time to be alive.
Oh man, can you imagine working in the CIA in the 60s? The same guy who ran MK Ultra was the same guy who tried to kill Fidel Castro with an exploding seashell.
But I did read something about it that I think from memory it was in the experimenting on Canadians part of the Wikipedia page. So you know it's an interesting section.
I love
But
when
they
Wikipedia pages have that section.
Yeah. Is that what you look for?
Yeah.
But no, that part of it was that they were trying to correct schizophrenia by like trying to erase existing memories and things like that, which look, I feel like we've talked about this in past episodes, but you know, there's that little bit of they're kind of trying to do something good with their very evil.
Yeah.
Mostly it's just to fuck people up, but you know, there's always that one little bit where they're like, let's try and help people too.
Like, I can see the reason why they did it. Like, the reason why they did it was because they wanted to see, A, if it was possible to get information out of Russians without, like, having to torture them.
Vodka.
Yeah, but why don't they test it on Russians then? Why don't they test it on their own people or the poor Canadians?
They had Canadians handy. They didn't have Russians handy.
What did Canada do?
And they also wanted to see whether it was possible that the Russians could do the same thing to Americans.
Yeah, fair. Like, I'm not condoning it at all. I feel like that sounds like me being very like, yeah, all right, cool.
Emma's on board now.
But you know, this sort of like chemical, it's not chemical warfare, but this sort of like use of drugs throughout warfare isn't, you know, all that uncommon. Like the British had a plan during World War II because like they couldn't poison Hitler because Hitler had like a poison taster for his food. The plan was to dose his food with estrogen so he became more effeminate.
Yes.
Oh,
Because estrogen wouldn't kill the poison tester. The plan was that hopefully, if they could feed him estrogen, he'd be less likely to make aggressive decisions, was the logic.
Do you know how long he would wait after the poison tester tasted the food?
I don't.
Because I was just thinking, like, you could just have like something that takes a while to hit the system.
Yeah, like cyanide. Cyanide takes like half an hour sometimes.
Yeah, true. Well, just do
Cyanide
that.
comes up later in the show.
Hi.
So how much do you guys know? Like the next 3 on the list are all basically the same thing. So how much do you guys know about those?
Yeah, little bits about each.
Yep.
The story of old mate Patricia Hearst.
Good old Patty.
Good old Patty Hearst.
Granddaughter of the person for who Citizen Kane is modelled after.
Oh.
Ah, fun fact.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy. So the story, Patty Hearst, so she was kidnapped from her Berkeley University apartment when she was 19, I think it was. So she was abducted, and then I think it was a couple of years later that they found her, and during the time that she had been away, she had obviously been, as we're talking about, brainwashed and committed a whole bunch of different crimes and things like that. And so it all came under scrutiny when she was on trial for all of these. I think that's kind of when the whole brainwashing thing kind of came into it because I think the legal definition was something around if people are capable of knowing the difference between right and wrong, then they're of sound mind, and therefore during that time she doesn't actually have a mental disability, a mental disorder or anything like that. So technically she was of sound mind and should be tried for her crimes. And it was one of those things where they started talking about, well, actually, because of the devastating, the shit that people were trying to do to her, I think they were abusing her, raping her, everything like that, they realized that actually it's a form of brainwashing, that she kind of wasn't in her right mind when she was actually doing the crimes, because it was for fear of her life. So it's an interesting one. I think it really started to bring about what is brainwashing and what actually is of right mind, and people's capability to do things.
Yeah.
She got convicted for bank robbery and got served 35 years in prison. But then, they, I think they took all that into account, so they reduced it to 7 years, and then they pardoned her later. Yeah.
Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence to time served.
Yeah.
And then Bill Clinton pardoned her on his last day in office.
Oh, okay.
Go on, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One good thing you did.
Anyway, so that's Patty Hearst. But I think the other two are quite similar. And fun fact, they're all done in San Francisco. So don't go there, kids.
I mean, Jonestown wasn't.
Well, no, the original head office.
That's true. Yeah.
Was in San Francisco.
Yeah. The next two we have are the Manson family and the Jonestown massacre. And we're kind of going long on this, so we'll probably try and speed this part up a bit. But the Manson family, Charles Manson,
psycho,
famous for having a swastika carved on his forehead, and also for, masterminding the murder of Sharon Tate.
And apparently being like the reincarnation of Jesus.
Yeah. He was convinced that the Beatles song Helter Skelter was prophesizing a revolution where black Americans would kill white Americans in a, racial revolution genocide thing. Interestingly enough, that song is about going down a slippery dip.
Little bit different.
What's a slippery dip?
A slide.
Oh, okay.
The song's called Helter Skelter. A Helter Skelter is a British word for slide. But yeah, he had what he called his family, which was basically a group of like 20-something girls and guys who he convinced them he was basically the second coming of Christ, and convinced them to murder people, which,
when in Rome.
He kind of exploited the whole hippie subculture.
Yeah.
He actually recorded a song with the Beach Boys at one point.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow.
He lived in one of the Beach Boys' house for a while, and apparently the Beach Boy just could not get rid of him.
I mean, yeah. Again,
he's the second coming of Christ,
Yeah.
You can't just tell him to get out.
Well, yeah.
You can, he just won't go.
Yeah. But he did all of the same tricks, like abusing and, reinforcing behaviors on like his family, as he called them, to get them to do what he wanted.
It's almost like these situations, they lure the people in through look at all these great things that we'll be doing, living that hippie lifestyle, which was obviously very big in the 60s. And it kind of just falls into Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
It's just, you reach a point where, this is life now.
And then the last one is the Jonestown Massacre, which is where, what did they call themselves? The Temple of what now? The People's Temple, which was a Christian cult started by Reverend Jim Jones, who was, one of these evangelical priests in the US.
Jim?
Yeah. No relation.
Oh.
Just have a similar first name.
Similar first names, yes. Similar. Mine's actually spelled Gym.
God.
But he started this church, and what he would do is he would make people sign all of their money over to him when they wanted to join the church. So he had huge amounts of money under his control, and he would collect incriminating things about them. Like he would make them write down their deepest, darkest secrets and then hand them over to him as collateral if they ever tried to leave the church, so he could blackmail them.
Wait a minute. This church sounds like a cult.
It was a cult.
Ah.
Spoiler alert, it is. It definitely is.
And when the feds started to catch on to him, he told everyone, guess what? We're moving to Guyana because they don't have an extradition treaty with the US.
Yay, Guyana.
And so they all moved to Guyana, to like the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, I think they were promised like a pretty lucrative lifestyle and how great it was all going to be, and then they get there and they're like, this isn't exactly what I told it was going to be.
Yeah, it was the Amazon rainforest, and like a real unfertile patch of the Amazon rainforest, if you can imagine that.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. And, he wouldn't let people ride home, but he convinced them that they were living in this socialist utopia. He would run these rituals where they would do a pretend ritual suicide.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up in and of itself.
How do you pretend?
Yeah, what did they call it? It was the White Knight rehearsal,
White Knights.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. He would claim, the capitalist pigs are coming for us. Now is the time. You've got 4 choices. We can move again. We can fight them. We can run into the rainforest, or we can kill ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. And he would put it up to a vote in these White Knights, and then sometimes they would vote for a fake ritual suicide.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So eventually people decided to check up on them, including a US congressman from California, and some people tried to defect, and then shit hit the fan. They ended up killing the congressman, and they knew that was the end. And so Jim Jones commanded everyone to kill themselves by actually committing suicide for realsies this time.
Oh,
realsies. But I think a lot of people that weren't actually in the temple at the time thought it was a rehearsal, so they were like, "Yeah, cool, all right, cool, we'll join in."
Yeah,
and then
cool. Give me that sweet Kool-Aid.
Give me that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, this is where the phrase "drink the Kool-Aid" comes from.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, kids.
Oh, what?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, kid. If anybody ever offers you Kool-Aid, don't drink it.
Okay.
But
sounds like such a refreshing drink.
Yeah.
But I know that there was obviously people didn't know they thought it was another White Knight rehearsal, and then joined in and they kind of died. But also, as you can imagine, it all sounds all fantastic and great, and look how awesome we all are, and we're doing it for the greater good and all of this. And then once it started happening and people actually saw people on the ground actually dying, they realized, oh shit. And tried to get out, and
they had armed guards with machine guns.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
But I think the research showed that the poison caused death for kids within about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Obviously less for babies and infants and stuff, and 20 to 30 minutes for adults. Mm-hmm. So you can just imagine how terrible that half an hour would have been.
Yeah.
I would have been absolutely, I don't even want to think about it. But I think the first people that, because I think there's a recording of it as well.
Yeah.
Of when it all started, and I listened to a little bit of it before, and it's just intense. But yeah, the first people to drink that Kool-Aid was a mother and her 1-year-old child.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's messed up.
Aww.
Like you can only imagine how brainwashed and how absolutely
trusting
into all of trusting, I guess, that you would have been to do that. It's just, get you right in the feels.
It's probably for the best that the name Jim hasn't been ruined like the name Adolf has by this.
There's just too many Jims around.
Yeah. Luckily, there weren't that many Adolfs.
Yeah, they usually stick to Germany.
Who knows anything about Neuralink?
Oh, I looked this.
I have no idea. When I clicked on that link, it took me to a freaking website that was like, we'll be up soon. I have no idea what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Do you know about this, Ken?
I looked this up. It was so cool.
What is it?
Neuralink, an integrated brain-machine interface with thousands of channels.
What?
This is the patron saint of the pod, Elon Musk's new project.
Patron saint of the pod.
Yeah.
Is that who we worship?
Based on my understanding, it's a way to upload your brain into a machine.
Oh, no,
Not
thank
quite
you.
that much.
Not quite that much.
What it is, it's a really fine metal mesh that they lay over the top of the motor cortex of your brain.
No, thanks.
Ooh.
So that you can control robot limbs if you happen to be a quadriplegic or whatever.
Damn.
Actually.
Which, that's its stated goal. But, because Elon Musk is Elon Musk, he's also talked about the fact that it might be able to send signals back into your brain.
Nope. Nope. This is like those bloody Google or phone like contact lenses that they're starting to bloody come up with. No, I don't want any of that.
Oh, I'm so ready for that.
No, thank you.
I'm really excited for stuff like this, stuff like Neuralink in theory. Like, in theory, I think it could do a lot of good.
No, I feel like this just leads to us being overrun by AI. And I'm just not for it.
You could have said the same thing about smartphones 20 years ago, but now, we can't live without them.
But that's not inside of me. And I know that Google is apparently always listening, and my parents have sent me articles on that, that I should always turn it off. Yeah, no, I'm just, I get it, and I appreciate what you're meaning, where you're coming from with that phones 20 years ago, whatever, but I'm just not for putting stuff in my eyes or in my body or inserting it anywhere under my skin or whatever. I don't want to be overrun by a robot.
I'm so ready. As soon as it's viable, I'm all on board for that.
No, well, you know what? When you get run over by a bloody robot, crawl.
No. You know what the good thing is? I can't wait to upload my brain into a computer so that I have it like a restore point.
Well,
restore point.
Yeah.
Why would you need a restore?
I mean, maybe that'll help for people with dementia and things like that.
Yeah, looks like
that movie.
Looks like you're booting up a new gym. Would you like to restore this from an iCloud backup or an iTunes backup?
Oh,
can you imagine? A huge mistake.
Do you know what? Actually, in that though, you could save something now, then listen to a new song, and then be like, "That was bloody great," and then be like, "You know what? I'm going to restore back to then and hear it again for the first time."
Ooh.
Yeah, but presumably
I'm still not
lose
on
all
board
of the
there.
other memories of that time.
I mean, no, I'm meaning I was thinking a day later, but yeah, sure.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities here. It's terrifying, you're right, because the brain is essentially a bag of chemicals that learned how to talk about itself.
Yep. Anyway.
Self-aware.
All right, it's creeping me out. Moving on. Dominating rating.
Dominating rating.
So the first movie on our list tonight is Zoolander. Great film. Fantastic. And I actually want to say it's one of the most heavily quoted movies in my family. Even my parents. The amount of times, quotable. Anytime anybody coughs, it's, I think I have to black lung. All the time.
I did that cough in the biological weapons episode.
Straight up, because even my niece now, every time she coughs, we just say that to her, and she just looks at us like, I'm actually sick. What are you guys doing?
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What are you doing?
This movie's too old for me.
Yeah. So anyway, Zoolander is about a ridiculously good-looking guy who is a model, and he's basically a washed-up old model, and he basically gets called back to it again, and he thinks that he's coming back into being part of the spotlight and all that kind of stuff. He's been overrun by Hansel, and what is his name? Will Ferrell's character. He basically takes Derek Zoolander, to a day spa, straps him to a chair, and he basically, so Will Ferrell's character, I cannot remember his name right now, but
Mugatu!
Oh my god, how did I forget that? Mugatu wants to kill the Malaysian Prime Minister.
Because the Malaysian Prime Minister wants to raise taxes on clothing manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Malaysia. Jeez. But so he invites him to this fancy fashion runway, and anyway, so Derek goes to this day spa where he is strapped to a chair and he listens to the song Relax. Relaxed, don't do it when you want to get to it. He's listening to that song on repeat while watching a visual of how bad apparently that the Malaysian Prime Minister is, and how he's doing child labor and all these small babies are working in factories and all this kind of stuff. So he has been programmed essentially to, when he hears that song, to go into absolute fight mode and want to kill the Malaysian Prime Minister. So there's this big fashion show that's run, and towards the end of it, Zoolander is obviously walking down the runway, and I think one of the best parts of that scene is when he stops a ninja star with the blue steel, and the Malaysian Prime Minister is alive. So well done, Zoolander.
Woo!
This movie doesn't get called out enough for basically ripping off the Manchurian Candidate.
The what now?
The Manchurian Candidate was a book and then a movie, which is basically a non-comedy version of this. So it's about a guy who's a sleeper agent of the KGB who's been hypnotized to kill someone when he's shown the Queen of Diamonds card.
Oh, I always thought this movie was that movie. Like,
Wait, what?
like I know it's different, but when people mention a sleep agent, I'm just like, oh, Zoolander, yeah. And I just dismiss that movie completely. Dismiss the original movie.
But yeah, Zoolander is just the best.
Yep.
Like, just endlessly quotable.
Yep.
Like, oh, they're in the computer.
Merman, Pops. Merman.
Such a good movie. But how do we think it goes as like a world domination plan? Like, I'm inclined to give it credit. It's basically ripping off one of the classic brainwashing texts.
Yeah, I feel like, considering...
If it worked,
Yeah.
and like MK Ultra showed that it doesn't really work because you can't really convince people to do shit like that without them knowing. If it worked, it's a good plan.
Yeah, but I mean, Zoolander's pretty dumb. So I feel like if you're going to pick people to do it, you pick the dumb ones.
Method's really good, but a little petty.
Very petty.
Very petty. This... Yeah.
Fashion. It's fashion, darling.
Being petty, so hot right now.
The Derek Zoolander Centre for kids who can't read good and want to learn to do other things good too.
What is this?
A centre for ants? It needs to be at least 3 times the size. How do you expect the children to learn if they can't even fit inside the building?
Derelict my balls.
My God, he's right. Oh, man. Anyway, I think it's a great movie. And I do think, the idea behind it, I think, is pretty good. I give it a thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one on our list is Get Out. And I think you wanted to talk about this one, Ken?
Oh, yeah. I watched this one very recently. So
I haven't seen this one, so tell me about it.
Yeah, I don't do horror movies, but friends have recommended this one.
Yeah, so this is a spoiler zone. Obviously, that this movie came out, was it last year? So
yeah, it's within the 5 years.
Yeah, so spoiler alert.
If you'd like to skip ahead to the point where there will be no longer any more spoilers, you can skip ahead to
34 minutes and 20 seconds.
If you'd like to stay with us, feel free to. But if you'd like to skip ahead, feel free to skip to
34 minutes and 20 seconds.
And now we're clear.
Okay, yeah. So I watched this movie recently. Amazing movie. Crazy twist at the end.
Yep.
Basically, a couple goes back to the countryside to visit the girl's family, and when they visit, the main character, the boyfriend, thinks that everything's a little bit off, everything's a little bit weird.
Sorry, I do feel like you need to mention that he's black and she's white.
Oh, that's true. Yes, he's black.
It's a very
and she's
important
white.
part of the movie.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, even I know that one.
Yeah, we probably need to mention that. Yes, he's black and she's white, and her whole family is white. And
Usually white people's family are.
Are they?
Usually.
I don't. Yes,
Unless you've been
interesting.
adopted.
Oh, yeah. Basically, everything's a little bit off about this family. They're like low key racist. He goes back and they have this party, and he meets all the family friends, and they're all a bit weird about it as well, a bit low key racist. And there's a few black people in the crowd, and they all act a little bit weird. So later they find out that the mother can hypnotize people, and the whole point of the girl bringing back the boyfriend was that they can hypnotize him and then do a brain transplant of older white people into his brain so that they control his body and maintain the, what do they call it? The superiority? Anyway, they can get a healthy body with their old people mind.
That's some messed up shit right there.
Yeah, no, it was really fucked up.
I get the metaphor, but that's some messed up shit.
Yeah, so it's basically so all the black people that are around the family home are either the gardener, the maid, the cook, the cleaner, or they're just awkwardly standing very silently, very kind of like ridiculously out of it, like they've been sedated. But every so often there's a moment where they're like, something's not quite right, and he obviously is sensing that something's not okay, here something's going wrong. And I think there's a couple of scenes, one of the funniest scenes, but also like scares the crap out of you, is when he's kind of like just walking outside at night and the gardener guy is just running, and he just runs at him like full pelt, and you're just like, what is going on? And there's a couple of moments I feel where they kind of, I think it's called like how he like falls into the darkness, and like he's sort of like what
Sunken
they call
place?
is that what it's called? The sunken place?
Yeah, the sunken place.
Okay.
A sunken place.
So yeah, there was some weird stuff going on, and obviously, yeah, he could tell that there was something really not right. And yeah, the mum can hypnotize people, and that sends them into what they call the sunken place, which when he starts to figure out what's going on, or that something is really not right and something's going on, he gets hypnotized, goes into the sunken place and wakes up, and he's like strapped to a chair, and there's this TV screen going, and it's basically trying to tell him that
How the whole process happens
yeah
of them replacing his brain with someone else's.
Yep. So it's and I think so. He's like sitting there strapped to a chair with his eyes like, those metal things peeled open, watching this screen, and he's there, and it's basically telling him what's going to happen to him and what they've been doing for decades, the whole family.
Why would they have a movie about that?
I don't know, white people, right?
Oh, it's like a weird little like infomercial. It was like so
This is Aunt
trippy.
Deirdre back when she was in her Armenian phase.
Yeah, so I think what it's trying to do, I think they're trying to prep the donors, that he will, it tells them that he's going to continue to live in this sunken place, or the dark void or whatever, and he will be able to continue on as like a sort of passenger.
Yep.
So that's what when he's watching this, he realizes that actually when he's seen those people and have their flash moments of, oh my God, something's wrong, it's actually the person who's body it actually is coming back to consciousness.
Yep.
And taking over the other person for the second and being like, help me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he realizes that it's to do with the sound of the I think when she's trying to hypnotize him, there's a teacup or something like that
Teacup.
dings. So he realizes that if it's because he hears it, and that's what sends him into the sunken place. So what he does is the couch that he's sitting on, he's realized that he's dug so deep into it that he's found the stuffing from it. So he sticks that in his ears so that the next time it goes off, he can pretend to be unconscious, but he's actually not, and that's how he tries to break out.
So satisfying.
Oh yeah, it was pretty intense. And then like the whole time, like you think the girlfriend's good and on his side and not knowing what the family's doing, and then at the end she's crazy, and she's actually luring all these black men into the family.
Oh, and a woman.
Oh yes, and
Yeah,
a woman.
remember? Yeah.
It's 2019, or well, it wasn't then when it came out, but yeah. So it's honestly a really good movie.
Yep.
It's such a great twist at the end, and white people be crazy.
Sorry for ruining it for you, Jim.
Rich white people.
That's fine. I think
But yeah.
I think I've had it ruined by like YouTube, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was familiar with the broad strokes of the plot.
But yeah, the way they explain the whole process is just, so creepy, and like it makes it so realistic.
Yeah.
So there's like three stages. There's the hypnosis to make them highly suggestible and put them in the sunken place. And then there's the pre-op where they explain the whole process to him and how he's going to be a passenger, and like meeting the person he's going to be transplanted with.
Sharing a mind and body with.
Sharing a mind and body with. And then the last part is actually replacing most of his brain so that person can use his body.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's
and they have
creepy
to
as fuck.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it. It's definitely
Yep.
worth a watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, it's on my list of things to watch.
Yeah.
But how does it rate as like a world domination plan? Because I feel like if only one person has this ability to transfer minds, I don't know if it's the greatest world domination plan.
Yeah.
Though it is a really good way to like perpetuate power, which is, I guess, the metaphor that it's going for.
Yeah, like look, as a movie and as a plan, like it's pretty insane and pretty good. But yeah, as a world domination thing, I don't really know. It's a slow burner in that regard.
Slow burner.
One at a time.
Yeah. Although, like I said, as, a metaphor, white people using black people's bodies to perpetuate wealth and power across time, that one's on the money.
Yeah.
Yep. So welcome back, everyone who is joining us from the halcyon days of pre-spoiler. Next one on our list is Inception. And not to like get into it before we actually talk about the movie, but I feel like this one has the same Christopher Nolan problem of being too complicated as like Batman Begins.
I still have no idea what happened in Inception, and I've watched it at least 6 times.
Okay.
Like I do, but I don't. Like
The plot of
Come
this
on.
movie is it's the not too distant future. There's a new technology being developed that lets you share dreams with people. So you can go into somebody else's dream and they can come into yours as long as you're connected by this special machine. And Leonardo DiCaprio's character runs this company where he can go into people's dreams and extract information from them that they wouldn't give up normally. So it's like kind of a more subtle way of doing what MK Ultra was trying to do. So like he goes into people's dreams, pokes around in their subconscious, and then tries to find like, you know, the combination to the safe or whatever. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can like look at subconscious cues in the person's dreams, or you can go up to the representation of that person in their dream and ask them for the combination, for example. And because it's a kind of an arms race, he also can do the opposite, where he trains your brain to stop this sort of attack. But the main plot of the movie is he's given a new task to what's called incept someone, which is to convince somebody that something is real when that thing hasn't happened. And the thing that he's trying to convince someone to hand over their company to someone else. And he says that can't be done because it's very difficult to convince someone of something that they don't believe, which is basically what MK Ultra found.
Yeah.
And so the plot of the movie is them going into deeper and deeper levels of dreams. So like going into dreams within dreams to try and get deeper into this person's subconscious to convince them that they need to give over their company to someone else.
Which is just insane. But
Yeah.
it's a clever concept, but crazy.
Yeah, but I feel like this has the opposite effect of Get Out. Like, you're only really affecting one person, but you can do quite a lot of damage by affecting that one person.
100%.
Like, if you could incept Trump, you could convince him to not be a total shithead.
I don't know. You'd have to go pretty deep, though.
Yeah.
He's so off, I think he's already incepted.
Some stoner kids just like totally incepted him. But my question for you, Jim, is at the end, is he in a dream? Is he like what's going on?
Well,
Come on.
There's a running subplot throughout the movie that if you go too deep into a dream, you end up in this place called limbo where nothing makes sense and you go crazy.
Yep.
And the backstory to Leo's character is that him and his wife once ended up in limbo, and they eventually found their way out, but they couldn't be sure of if anything was real or a dream anymore.
Yeah.
And his wife became so convinced that nothing was real that she killed herself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
Rough.
the end of the movie, Leo goes into limbo again to rescue the person who they're trying to incept because they fucked up.
Done fucked up.
He has to go into limbo to find the person, and he comes out again at the other end. And this movie's so complicated.
But is he awake or is he asleep?
Another running theme of the movie is that you have these things called a totem that you carry on you in the real world to let you know that you're in the real world. So Leo's version of this is a spinning top. And he knows if he can, because there's like Matrix rules, if he can keep the top spinning in the dream world, then he knows he's in a dream. But if he can't keep it spinning and the top topples over, then he knows he's in the real world. And the movie ends with the top spinning.
Oh,
So
okay.
is he or is he not?
Yeah.
That is my question, Jim.
Are you ready? Are you ready to breathe a sigh of relief?
Yeah.
The very end of the credits ends with a little tinkling noise as the top falls over.
Oh, thank God. Okay. How have I
okay.
never known that?
I should watch this.
Have you not seen this movie, Ken?
I have not seen it.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really good.
Okay. It is a great
it's
film.
very complicated, but it's very good.
Look, I got most of that. I just didn't know at the end. It was just frustrating me for however many years since it's come out, whether it was, and I guess not enough that I actually Googled, but hey. No, look, I think I really like the idea of it, so I give it a thumbs up. I think the whole concept of it, I really like.
Yeah. The two ways that you can use the technology for, either to like extract information from someone,
Yeah.
or in rare circumstances to convince somebody else
Yeah.
of something is, fantastic idea for dominating the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Thumbs up.
No, yeah,
Yep.
definite thumbs
Yep.
up. Cool.
Alright, so Ken, next one's on you.
Next movie we're talking about is Shallow Hal. This one's a bit more lighthearted. It's a comedy, and it's about a young man named Hal who, at the start of the movie,
He's quite shallow.
he's quite shallow. You know, he was influenced by his father when he
Penis.
Penis. No, he's when his dad passed away, he told him to find an attractive lady and and basically only to focus on how she looks and appearances. So throughout Hal's adulthood, he's only been looking for very attractive, good-looking ladies to try and court with.
Such a polite way to put it.
But, this hasn't really gone well for him, and, he hasn't really met any quality people, or they don't like him because he's too shallow. One day he runs into Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Who the fuck is Tony Robbins?
Don't you know who Tony Robbins is?
I probably do.
He's he's a corporate guy, but he's like a motivational speaker and stuff too. I'm pretty sure he was like here last year in Australia and had a few shows.
No, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tony Robbins was playing himself in the movie, so he was like still a self-help guy.
Fucking rad.
Yeah, it was really cool. And he got stuck in Hal got stuck in an elevator with Tony Robbins, and they had a good talk about Hal's lifestyle and that he was very shallow, and he ended up hypnotizing him and changed his perception of the world so that he can only see the inside of people.
Gross.
Phrasing, sorry. So he can only see inner beauty from that point onwards. Yes. So basically, people with a good heart he'll see as like the most attractive people in the world, and people with bad personality he'll see as like the most hideous people in the world.
Cool.
Yeah, the complete change of perception. The way they like filmed this was very interesting. Like that
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, one shot it's like, oh, she's really attractive, and the next shot she's like 300 pounds.
That's still beautiful too, Ken.
Yep.
We're not fat shaming.
Well, yes, we are not fat shaming.
If you want a beach body, you go to the beach with your body. That's a beach body.
Who plays the girl?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Paltrow.
Does she play?
Yeah, she plays both. She's got a fat suit on.
Cool.
Yep.
She's like an Oscar-nominated actress. That must have been hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually a good movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
very
And
wholesome.
I think it is, and I like the story behind it because he eventually realizes that he has been hypnotized, that whatever Tony Robbins said to him actually works. So he tracks him down.
So he doesn't know.
So he doesn't know that it's actually worked. He thinks he's dating like the hottest girl ever, and she's fantastic, and like she'll break a bench in a restaurant, and he'll be like, what, this thing's made out of whatever, whereas she's just like, no, it happens all the time. And so eventually he tracks down Tony Robbins to take it off him, or his friend does.
Oh yeah, his friend
does. Takes it off him, and then he doesn't recognize this Gwyneth Paltrow that he's fallen in love with, and then he starts to realize that actually, you know what, who gives a shit about what she looks like? He did love her.
Cute.
Such a wonderful ending.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Do you know how Gwyneth Paltrow's IMDb page begins?
Right.
The first sentence on her IMDb page is, a tall, wafer-thin, delicate beauty.
Wow. To be described like that, eh?
Oh wow, yeah, tall, wafer, and delicate beauty.
That's the goal. Basically, isn't Tony Robbins taking over the world?
Yeah, it's not the greatest plan for taking over the world, but it's a nice plan.
Oh, I think it's a nice wholesome plan of,
very wholesome.
everybody just seeing everybody for what they truly are. Mm-hmm. And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very wonderful.
I'll give this a
Very
thumbs
nice.
up.
Yep.
Thumbs up from me as well.
So the next two movies on our list are Clockwork Orange and 1984, and they both deal with a similar kind of authoritarian state trying to stop the kinds of things that you're allowed to think.
Right.
So A Clockwork Orange, also set in a kind of near future. I think it's set in the UK, but set in the UK, but people in this, like youths in this future are kind of just unruly and just kind of do whatever they want. And the main character and his friends just kind of roam around town doing what they call ultra-violence, which is just like beating up and raping whoever they feel like. And eventually they get caught, and the main character, I want to say Alex?
Yep.
Alex is forced to sit in front of this machine that displays just horrible, horrible things to him and conditions him to never want to do those things ever again.
I feel like, did it force him, or did he choose it because it was going to really shorten his...
He goes to prison, and he's given the option to do this experimental treatment and get out early.
Yeah.
But he just thinks it's like, oh yeah, sure, what, they're going to show me some movies? Yeah, sure, whatever, mate.
Yeah. Whatever.
Why is he bogan?
It basically brainwashes him to the point where he can't engage in any of the things that he used to get joy out of, like ultraviolence. Like, if he tries to engage in that again, he gets horribly sick and, like, you know, vomits and whatever, and, like, can't move.
Yeah.
And, like, has to go out into the real world and, like, try and readjust to life without being able to do any of the things that he used to be able to do.
Like a normal person.
Yeah, like a normal person. And to him, that is just the greatest hell.
Yeah.
But to us, it's like, what?
That's life, man.
Yeah. And then 1984, not exactly the same, but it's set in 1984, which, you know,
funny,
was the not too distant future in the 40s when it was written. And it's also set in England. But what do they call it? They call it, hang on, I gotta look this up. Yeah, it's called Airstrip 1. And basically there's 3 big warring nations: Eurasia, East Asia, and Oceania. And basically they're always at war, or they always appear to be at war with one another, because you don't ever see outside of England, but you're led to believe that, the narrator, like the main character who relays the story, leads you to believe that these 3 big nations are always at war, but you can never know for sure because the government is just constantly misleading people.
Classic government.
There is no war inside the walls of Ba Sing Se.
And so the government is just constantly putting out misinformation and changing their story, but because nobody can question it, everybody just kind of believes it.
Right.
And you basically just, like, truth changes from day to day. And it even gets to the point where they come up with a new language called Ingsoc, where even, like, the kind of thought you can have is limited by the language.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because the language is so simplistic that, like, different classes of people have access to different parts of the language.
Interesting.
And so, like, the concepts that you can conceive are limited by the language itself.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so, like, there wouldn't be a word for revolution
Yeah.
or whatever.
Wow. All right.
Damn.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's some messed up shit.
Yep. I like, so if we're rating each of them individually, I guess, but I think from Clockwork Orange, it's an interesting idea, and I actually quite like it. I think if we had something like that, that'd be great, and what a different world we would be living in. To think that something like that could be possible. So I give that one a thumbs up.
But are we, like, is it still right to take away his freedom to do that?
It's illegal. He's going around, like, brutally raping people. Yes, let's take away his freedom to do that. At least he's, like, in his, like, for
Like,
him.
I agree with you in theory that, like people shouldn't be doing that, but is brainwashing him to the point where he is physically incapable of doing that? Is that the right thing to do?
Oh, I guess I know what you mean, Jim. It's probably you're saying it's probably more humane to just stick him in a prison than to change him as a...
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have an answer to that.
Look, part of me is like, nah, he should get the bloody lethal injection. Let's not use our taxpayers' dollars to keep him in prison. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea, and that's why I give it a thumbs up. But I do see what you're saying, and I think it depends on to what extreme they go to with brainwashing them, if that makes sense. Like, is it literally just the ultra violent ones, or is it like absolutely everything, like, accidentally stole a pack of gum or something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on the level of what they do it. But people like him, I mean, the ultra violent things that he was doing, just kill him. Like, we don't need people like that. I don't even care about if we rehabilitate him. Bye.
Well, that's our show, everyone. Yeah, and, like, I think 1984, it's a better plan as such, because, like, the problem I think we'd have with 1984 is that even though, like, some people like you, Emma, are for it, I imagine there would be, like, some opposition to it, and it would be hard to, like, get that passed.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're in a society like the one in 1984, and your ability to think is limited by the language that the state has created...
Oh, yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah,
that's a bit much. At least a Clockwork Orange is just like the people that are ultra violent and stuff like that, whereas 1984 is just everybody and based on class and things like that, because it would really limit people as to what they could achieve in life.
But in terms of taking over the world, they're both top notch, if you ask me.
Yeah, don't let your dreams be dreams, people.
And there's so many other things in 1984 that I'm not even going to go into, but, like, the brainwashing part is the part that we want to go into.
Cool.
Okay, let's move on to...
Domination formulation.
So we're going to run through our plans of how we would use the thing to take over the world, but we decided to come up with like some ground rules before we do this because we thought it might be a little bit open-ended to just say use mind control to take over the world. So for our plans, we're only able to brainwash or mind control one person or to control one thing that all people do. So like you could make all people poop at the same time, like that sort of thing.
Poor sewer system.
You use that example every time.
It's just such a good
It's
example.
so dangerous. There's only so many bathrooms.
You can make everyone sneeze at the same time, and how would you use that to take over the world?
Make them all point in the same direction.
And speed up the rotation of the Earth? Is that what you're going for?
Yes.
And again!
And again.
Achoo! Again! Another! Faster!
All right,
Faster!
all right, boys. Moving on. Moving on. Come on.
Okay.
So, what's your plan, Ken?
My plan involving mind control has to do with empathy.
Oh.
So I was inspired by Shallow Hal by Tony Robbins to change people's perception of things.
Thanks, Tony Robbins.
Thanks, Tony Robbins. Improved my life already. So my plan involves slowly increasing people's sensitivity to empathy until world peace or hive mind is achieved.
I really like
So
this plan,
wholesome.
Ken. It's really sweet.
So wholesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Going to take over the world by making everyone very nice to one another.
Exactly. I want everyone to know that everyone needs love and that we should live happily ever after.
I really like your plan, Ken.
Thank you, thank you.
It's very wholesome.
I don't have anything to add to this one. I think it's a really good plan.
Thank
Like,
you.
okay, but so I guess is the plan to create world peace? Is that what your plan is? Is that to you what dominating the world is?
Yep, that would be the end goal. Like, my
So you don't
version
need
of
to be
world
on
peace.
top or anything like that. It's just world peace. Is this your Miss World speech that all you want is world peace?
All you want is world peace, except for you. You just become the angriest person on the planet by default.
Stomps on the floor all the time, throwing tantrums. And people are like, that guy needs help. And then
Yeah.
they'll come and help me.
And then they'll do whatever they want, whatever you want for.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I'm for it. Okay, cool.
I like this plan, Ken.
So I think everyone will think that all of my actions are understandable and that they will just follow my whims.
Cool.
Yeah, but to make sure that things bad don't happen, I'm going to make sure like I've got some like-minded, nice people to join in on the little empathy circle first. And then like slowly increase that radius until like I can assimilate everyone.
Crank it to 11, Ken.
Yes! And that is my plan.
Good plan, Ken. I like it.
Thank you.
Jim, what's your plan?
So I have chosen the person route. I'm going to control one particular person, and that particular person is a man called Michael S. Rogers. Now, have either of you heard of this person before?
Have not.
Who's that?
He just so happens to be the head of the National Security Agency in the USA.
Of course he is.
Yes.
Oh no.
And by bringing this person under my control, I can basically get any piece of information or kill any person I want to.
Wow.
This is dangerous.
Yeah.
Right, you've clearly thought this one through.
So in theory, I control all of the US's national security infrastructure. I control basically the internet.
Oh no. Throwback to episode 2.
Yeah, and can basically get any piece of information I want, and also control their spies to, in theory, kill anyone that disagrees with me.
I like this plan. I like this.
I like this plan too.
So evil.
It's nothing personal, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, but what happens if, like, the rest of the world...
Well, this is the beauty. This is why I didn't pick Donald Trump, is you want someone that nobody's ever heard about, but who is secretly really, really, really powerful.
Oh, that's why you asked us if we've heard of this guy before.
Yeah.
But it is like
Genius.
if you're then attacking whatever, they're going to figure out where it's coming from. At least it's from the US. What's to stop the rest of the world just ganging up and...
Jim would take out the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Well done, Jim.
It's foolproof.
Right. Okay.
So what's your plan, Emma?
So I went both routes tonight. So I've got a couple of plans, and I'll go through them pretty quick.
Both? It's greedy.
Look,
Ooh.
okay, so one plan is my actual plan, and the other plan is just something that I really want to happen.
Okay.
and you will figure out which one's which. No, so my original plan, I then realised, doesn't actually help take over the world. It just helps to make my world better. Really.
Take over your world.
Is basically, so as a lot of people know, I'm a bit of a Henry Cavill fan.
No.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking. It's shocking, I know. So my plan is to, if I was taking the one person route, is to mind control some Hollywood big buck producer or something like that, get him to create a movie that's filmed on a deserted island that's, not super deserted, but like it's pretty fancy. Some rich person probably owns it. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of those around. And, cast myself in with my incredible acting skills and Henry Cavill. And, he's going to put us on this island to kind of get to know each other. And then we're basically going to be abandoned. And during this time, Henry and I will fall in love. You know what? Then he's going to be like, you know what? We fell in love on this island. I need to own this island and I will buy it for you. But he'll say it with a beautiful British accent. And we will raise three kids on that island.
Jesus Christ.
There's so many more steps than I thought to reach that ending.
Anyway, so that's the plan that I want to happen.
So that's the take over the world plan, right?
Yeah, my world and his world. But I didn't want to mind control him. I didn't want to mind control him because I want him to fall in love with me for realsies.
I mean, it's the same thing with extra steps.
No, but he won't. No, but it's not. It's not Stockholm Syndrome. He's just going to realise that, we wouldn't have found each other any other way. Anyway, whatever. That's the other plan. Doesn't matter. The one that I'm talking about that I'm putting up for voting tonight is kind of similar to Ken's in a way. But mine is, instead of empathy, using honesty. So basically, people around me, I can turn on if I want them to be telling the truth and things like that. So obviously, find out people's deepest, darkest secrets and use it against them. Ooh. So I then could work my way into different places, kind of work my way up the ladder by blackmailing people, etc., and then eventually work my way to the top. And yeah.
No. You don't want to hire Gavin. He secretly fucks horses.
Oh, no.
Good one, Gav. But yeah, that's my actual plan. But the first plan sounds.
At least he's very stable.
Oh. Gavin. But yes, so that's my plan. I feel like you would learn so much that way, and if it's, I'm obviously controlling other people, I'm immune to it, so therefore I will be able to get my way through things without people knowing things about me.
But is it just you? Can everyone else in the world tell whether everyone else is being honest?
I think it's more of I can make people be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's much better. That's a much better power.
So so it's not just like everybody all of a sudden in the world is honest, but it's more like, if there's somebody talking over there, I can kind of like look at them and be like, you're going to tell the truth right now. And like, if they're in a conversation...
Zone of
Gavin,
truth.
this is the first date. That's inappropriate. But, so things like that. So if I see them, or if I'm kind of picturing that all I need to do is visually see them. So I'm thinking like if there's like a news anchor on the TV or something, if I can physically see them, I don't have to be in the same vicinity as them. But if I can see them, then I can get them to, and that's, yeah.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's so evil.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to give it to Ken this week, just because I love how wholesome his plan is.
Aw, thank you.
Ken, who are you awarding your vote to today?
Oh, this one's tough. In one case, there's Henry Cavill. No. Okay, sorry, that one doesn't really get my vote. But damn, one you can get like truth out of everyone,
Which is awesome.
It's such a good personal power to have.
And then the other one, drone strike.
Oh God. I would say, in terms of like great power, I would give it to Emma, but in terms of taking over the world, I'd give it to Jim.
So who's your vote for, Ken?
I'll go for you, Jim.
Yes.
To take over the world.
Oh no.
All right, Emma, deciding vote.
Oh no. I actually don't know. They're so different. I think...
Let your hate flow through you.
Oh my God.
Seriously. I was actually thinking, I was like, I kind of want to vote for Ken's, and I was like, no, it's not me. It's too wholesome. So I feel like I'm going to go with Jim.
Yes! Jimmy boy!
Congratulations, Jim.
Congratulations,
Although I do feel like if I was actually able to vote, I would have voted for myself.
You can't hear it now, but the song Carmen is playing.
But yeah, congratulations, Jim.
Thank you.
You won the last episode for the season.
Yay!
Woo!
I would also I am sad yours didn't win, Ken. I really liked your plan.
Yeah, it was a good plan. It was just too
Good plans
too
all
wholesome
around,
for me.
actually.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Especially that Henry Cavill one.
Yep, especially that one.
It just seems like slavery with extra steps.
It's called love, Jim. You wouldn't understand.
Welcome to the end of season 1, listeners. I think we're going to take a tiny bit of a break between seasons 1 and 2. We'll see you all again in the first half of September.
Is that going to be right before Area 51 is stormed?
Yeah, it is.
We will be with you, friends, before Area 51 is stormed.
In spirit. We will, to be clear, we will not be in Area 51.
No.
So how do you think season 1 has gone, you guys?
I feel it's been a great season. I've there's been lots of laughs, a few tears.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this with me, you guys.
No, it's
Yeah,
been good.
thank you,
I'm looking forward to what season 2 will have in store. I think we're not gonna give any spoilers away, friends, but I think we're gonna mix things up a little bit next season, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Suffice it to say, listeners, we're probably going to be changing things up a little bit for next season. It's not going to be a completely different show.
Got to keep it fresh for our peeps.
Yeah, but there's probably going to be some small changes for next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really happy with how this season's gone.
Yep.
It's been a fun learning curve, learning how to edit these and get these all done.
It's been a great season 1. I feel like we've done a pretty good job, and I'm excited about what season 2 is going to have in store for us. I think, as we said, we're going to mix things up a little bit, but still keeping with the world domination theme, and let's see what season 2 brings.
Yeah, we may not, at the end of season 2, we may not decide that that's the right way to go. We might revert back. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is still a fun side project for us, and we want to experiment a little bit.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that you wanted to suggest to us on, something for us to talk about or the way we talk about things, feel free to leave us a voicemail or shoot us an email.
And do it, because we will listen, and we will talk about you on our pod.
I check that email every other day or so, and it's really depressing that there's never anything in there.
And if you like it, tell your mum. I did that already. She doesn't want to listen to it.
Oh, my mum does. My mum does.
Aww. I don't know if I'm biased, but I've been listening to every episode, and they're getting more and more fun each time. We're really polishing it up a little bit, and bit.
Yeah, I'm finding that I'm a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
Now, just happy to chat. Whereas before I was like, oh my God, I need to do. And it's like, yes, I did research on what the things were, but it was kind of just like, I can just
and
talk.
that's basically the learning curve for this sort of thing.
I've also learned a lot. I think I would never come across things like Patty Hearst or the Manson family if I didn't do this podcast. So.
Oh really? Have you not heard of the Manson family?
No. I've heard of Charles Manson, but I didn't know he was a bad person.
Oh. No, he's a terrible person.
Well, thanks for listening to us, everyone. Like we said, we're probably going to take about a month's break or so before we come back. We'll be very excited to see you all then. Thanks for a lovely season 1. You've all been great, even though I haven't heard anything from any of you. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh, no.
I feel you.
There's a finishing blow.
I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to World Domination. You can find links to all the things we talked about, our other episodes, or leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/worlddomination. If you'd prefer to give us feedback in text form, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or email worlddompod@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to tell your mum about it.